Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you a video on how to beat Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This is one of the most terrifying cards, not only of 2020, but probably of the last several years. And this is going to be a card that will see play pretty much for the foreseeable future because it is that powerful. And knowing what you have to do to play around it is imperative. And so that's why I'm bringing you guys this video today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, if you guys plan on purchasing any of the cards we discuss in today's video to help prepare yourself for Dragoon, be sure to use my TCG Player affiliate link down in the description. It doesn't cost you anything and helps directly support the channel. So why is this card a problem? Well, for anyone who may not be familiar with what this card does, I'm going to go ahead and quickly read off the effect. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon reads, cannot be destroyed by card effects, and neither player can target this card with card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. You can use this effect a number of times per turn, up to the number of normal monsters used as fusion materials for this card. Also, once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can discard one card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, and if you do that, this card gains 1000 attack. Wow, this card just does it all, right? Protection from targeting, protection from destruction. It has the ability to pop 2 monsters your opponent controls per turn, since you're using a vanilla Dark Magician and vanilla Red Eyes to be able to make this card. And if that weren't enough, it also has a built-in quick effect Omni Negation effect, which also happens to make this card gain even more attack. And that attack gain is permanent, by the way, so it's just going to keep going up the longer it stays on the field. So now that you guys know why this card is so problematic, let's go ahead and discuss some ways to combat it. Now, the thing is, how players are going to access Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is through a monster known as Predaplant Verte Anaconda. This card, by paying 2,000 life points, you can send a fusion spell to the graveyard and essentially copy that spell's effect, which in this case, you're going to be sending Red Eyes Fusion, and that allows you to then dump both Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon from your deck to be able to summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So, any deck that basically can just play these cards in the extra deck and incorporate those 2 vanillas into their main deck is going to be able to add this card on top of everything else their deck can already do. Now, the nice thing here is that there are some ways to stop Red Eyes Dark Dragoon from actually touching the board in the first place. So, the first of which is Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Now, unfortunately, you cannot Ash Blossom Predaplant Verte Anaconda because the effect of Anaconda to send the spell card to the graveyard is actually part of the cost, and that means that Ash Blossom doesn't have the timing to be able to stop that card from being sent and ultimately nullify Verte Anaconda's effect. However, if your opponent happens to hard draw Red Eyes Fusion, and that's what they lead with, Ash Blossom can negate that effect because Red Eyes Fusion would be sending Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon to the graveyard from the deck, and that makes it a valid target. So then how do we stop Verte Anaconda? Well, it's actually rather easy to do this with cards like Effect Veiler, Infinite Impermanence. If you're really looking for outs, you could technically play something like Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, although that would be like my absolute last resort. Effect Veiler and especially Infinite Impermanence are just really strong because they're ubiquitous across the entire format, being able to negate anything. Both of them are not hard once per turn, so if you draw them in multiples, it's really nice. And Infinite Impermanence specifically is really powerful because it does not lose to a card like Called by the Grave, because it is not in fact a monster to be banished, so that effect cannot be negated. Infinite Impermanence is definitely the strongest option here, but I know it can be a little bit out of your guys' price range, so Effect Veiler is definitely an adequate substitute. But let's say the worst happens. Let's say we don't draw the Effect Veiler or the Infinite Impermanence or the Ghost Reaper, I suppose, for that matter, and Red Eyes Dark Dragoon does in fact hit the field. What can we do? Well, we do have a lot of options for this. So first up, Kaijus. I mean, come on, you guys knew this was coming. Kaijus are just a universal answer to any monster that is just impervious to literally everything in the game. Now, there are still some things that do affect Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and we'll go into that a little bit later on, but Kaijus are just a nice, clean one-for-one answer. Now, albeit they're not exactly searchable for most decks, so you're kind of hoping to hard draw them, and your opponent can very easily access Verte Anaconda because it just requires 2 effect monsters to link off into that, so you might have to play a reasonable amount of Kaijus if you're looking to get one if your opponent's going to drop Dragoon on you, but it's still a very clean way to deal with it. By extension, you could also go into more cards like Lava Golem or Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode, but it really just depends on the type of deck your opponent's playing. playing. Dragoon can be played in a multitude of different strategies, and so the problem is, while yes, you may be inclined to want to play stuff like Lava Golem or Sphere Mode because your opponent might be playing combo decks and just dropping Dragoon in addition to everything else they're already doing. Problem there is, if they're playing a slower deck but can still play Dragoon, then you're going to specifically want that Kaiju. Another great option for monsters that are seemingly impervious to everything is Super Polymerization, and because Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is a dark, it actually kind of checks a lot of the super poly boxes here. Being able to go into stuff like either Starving Venom Fusion Dragon or Predaplant Dragostapelia. I mean, it's already a fusion monster, so that makes it easy, and yeah, it would require your opponent to be playing some specific cards, but depending on what deck they're playing, this could be a very clean out and also gives you a little bit of board presence as well. We also have cards like Dark Ruler No More. This card is excellent because not only does it nullify the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, but it pretty much neutralizes everything on the opponent's field for a turn. Yeah, we're not going to be OTKing them or anything like that, but typically Dark Ruler is just this nice card to be able to get you back into the game when your back is seemingly against the wall. Forbidden Droplet is a brand new card out of Rise of the Duelist, and what's interesting about this card is that it actually does not target. So if you use Forbidden Droplet, discard a monster, and pick the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, not target, to be negated by Droplet's effect, this is really good because your opponent's not going to be able to respond to that effect with monster effects, in this case the effect of Dragoon. That means you can negate the effects of it and then pretty much go to town. Another interesting card that is also good against Dragoon that came out of Rise of the Duelist is Triple Tactics Talent. Now, the reason I say this is because that seldom used third effect, that Change of Heart effect, that definitely doesn't get used more so compared to the other two, is actually very strong here. First off, Triple Tactics Talent does not target, so that's a very good boon there, but in addition to that, being able to take control of that Dragoon means multiple things. First of all, you can pop two of your opponent's monsters and inflict a ton of damage to them. Unfortunately, it doesn't reset the negation effect of Dragoon. That would just be insane if it did, but unfortunately it doesn't. However, you can then, after you just light up your opponent's board with Dragoon, you can just link it off into something else, make like a very easy link to play, and you're going to be in a very powerful position afterwards. When all else fails when it comes to Dragoon, you could just run over it in battle. I mean, yes, it does have a pretty sizable attack, but we do have some monsters that can also reach even higher attack than that. So first of which is Access Code Talker. The reason I just want to talk about this is because this card can just reach like obscene levels of attack for no reason, and the best part is when it comes to Access Code Talker, your opponent cannot respond to that effect. So it's a very good way that even if you already bait the negation of Dragoon, it's going to be a nice clean way to get over it in battle because you can most likely get it to 5300 attack, if not more. Another great way to out it in battle is Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Now this one's a little bit more specific because obviously this pertains to dinosaur players. However, it's still great. You know, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is just an absolute beast of a card, and for you dinosaur players out there, you're not going to have to worry about this nearly as much. Now, wrapping up this video, I had a few cards that I wanted to discuss that didn't really belong in a particular category, but I grouped them together because they're very solid outs if you're able to preemptively bait the effect negation of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. They're not really going to take care of it just by itself like a Kaiju or anything like that, but they're still going to be very strong cards you might want to incorporate nonetheless. So first up is Fleur-de-Lis, the new Dogmatica monster from Rise of the Duelist. This card, again, doesn't target because apparently that's a trend now, but it's nice because it's able to negate the effects of Dragoon, and then you can pretty much get in there with ease to be able to take it out. There's also a card like Ice Dragon's Prison. This is also a very good one. It doesn't target or destroy, it in fact just banishes, and it's nice because Red Eyes Fusion already gives you the dark monster in the graveyard, being the Dark Magician or the Red Eyes Black Dragon that your opponent sent off of Red Eyes Fusion, so you can just take that card from their graveyard and then banish both that and the Dragoon, of course, after your opponent has already used the effect, and then Dragoon will be no more. And last but not least, I wanted to give a couple of Orcus cards some love because both Ding Girsu and Long Girsu actually have effects that send opposing monsters to the graveyard that do not target and do not destroy. So again, you do have to bait out the effect of Dragoon, but this gives Orcus some very clean outs to this monster, and again, we'll have to see where Orcus goes. Obviously, Dragoon Orcus was a very powerful contender in the OCG, but our formats are drastically different from one another, and I'm not sure Orcus is going to be able to compete at that high level like it can in the OCG, because I think some of the decks we have here in the TCG are just far too fast and far too powerful for Orcus to really keep up. We'll just have to see. It's obviously up in the air, but Orcus definitely has some very solid outs when it comes to Dragoon. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Let me know down in the comments what what you guys think and what your personal favorite outs are to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. This video is a great resource for anyone who's looking to get into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And know how to deal with one of the most prominent threats we are going to see for the next several months. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, and if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member. Just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.